Here is a tour of the AM radios at VE3IKU. The most powerful is this Class C amplifier with two 4-400s. They run 1 kilowatt DC input. They are plate modulated by a pair of 810s that produce 600 watts of audio power through the mod iron. The next powerful transmitter is the Hallicrafter's BC610. It runs a 250th triode modulated by a pair of 100 THs. It runs 500 watts input. The next transmitter is a push-pull 812 rig. And it is modulated by a pair of 211s, and that will eventually be changed to 811s or 5514s. The next AM transmitter is a Johnson Viking Valiant. It runs at 200 watts power input. The next transmitter is a Johnson Viking Ranger. It runs at 65 watts DC input. This one uses a 6146 modulated by a pair of 1614s, which are basically high voltage 6L6s. The Valiant uses a bushel basket full of 6146s. There's 3 6146s in parallel for the Class C RF output stage, and it's modulated by a pair of 6146s. There's also an Apache, which has 2 6146s, modulated by a pair of 6 CA7 hi-fi audio tubes. And then there's the DX100, which uses a pair of 6146s modulated by a pair of 807s. And then we have the Kenwood TS890. And in the AM mode, it puts out a 20-watt carrier modulated. And in order to have anything meaningful with that on AM, you've got to run it through a linear amplifier. And unfortunately, because of the efficiency of the amplifier, when you're at the carrier level, it's only got half the efficiency as it does on the peak of the audio. So it's 30% efficient. So the most you can get out of it without damaging the Dentron is 200 watts carrier. 100% modulated. So that is a tour of some of the AM equipment. There's also an VE3IKU 730 modulator, which I'm going to use as a class, well, not a Class B, but a driver for the 810s in these racks. We've got nice speakers for the receivers. So this is a National NC300. And we're on there now, or will be. There we go. So that's the National NC300. And then if I switch, then we're on this National NC300. We've also got a Mohawk receiver. We've got an HRO. I flick this switch here, we've got the Kenwood. We're also going to get this National NC303 up onto the table, right in that spot there. And the antenna tuners, we've got a Johnson kilowatt matchbox, which is for the 4-400 rig. And then I've got a homebrew tuner that basically tunes all the other AM rigs, like the BC610, etc. They're dipoles. The antenna tuners feed an open wire line, 600 ohms, which goes out to the feeders. And the lightning arrestor switch. Some interesting vintage transmitters. These are the first CW tubes, just after World War I. These are UV202s. And then, of course, is the famous UX210 Hartley, which is this guy here. And then I built a QRP rig, which uses a Type 30 triode, battery operated, puts out 100 milliwatts, and I actually made a contact which says, "Great job, Boris. Thanks. Much fun with the 30 QRP." That was on 7.1 megahertz CW. And various regenerative receivers, including the famous Paragon. We have to switch the antenna for that over here. All right. There we go. And this is now listening on 160 meters. Various crystal radios, another regenerative receiver, another regenerative receiver. Another national regenerative receiver using plug-in coils. And various triode transmitting tubes. And some screen width ones, like these 852s. They're good for almost a kilowatt. These are very, very early tubes from the 1930s. 1920s, actually.